Welcome back to Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and I'm joined this evening by Kevin Graham, Russell Boyce and JP Mason to have a look back on the first half there. I'm going to call it Love Street. Because you know what? I think that when it comes to naming grounds and changing grounds and getting sponsorship for grounds, I just go back to what we always knew it as. So what is it, New St Mirren Park? Has it got a sponsor? I'm not sure. Kevin Graham, what was your thoughts on the first half?
I'm wondering where I found out that Albie and Aiete's nickname's Albie because it's been shouted often enough for the boys on the touchline. I'm wondering where Greg Taylor got his haircut since all the barbers are actually shut. Great goal by Rogic. Great goal. We didn't play well for the first 15 minutes. We hadn't done much and we ended up 1-0 up. And we've controlled the game since then without really doing anything. It's one of these affairs where you can see the pitch getting harder as the game goes on. Obviously, the temperatures it's -3 here in Stirling, so I don't know what it is through in Paisley. We're controlling the game without ever looking dangerous, which kind of sums up our whole season. Rogic is finding a lot of decent space on that right-hand side. He's finding space here and there. Albie is doing all his work with his back to the goal, about 35 yards out for goal. I'd like to see him turning round and doing something into the box. But it's just it's a 5 out of 6 performance by a lot of the players. Where they're doing enough. And so hopefully we can just see it out or maybe improve in the second half.
See the big thing there, Kevin, I mentioned this last week, the amount of time the opposition's defence spends with their back to their own goal, which shows just how comfortable we are to play against. And you see that again tonight. You're talking about Ajeti, or Albie as you've started calling him. You know, when he gets the ball, he's got the back to the opposition's goal. That's not good because it means you're not stretching the back line. And it took, again, from the throw-in, Tom Rogic to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Tom Rogic, who I think we were all saying shouldn't have been playing tonight, to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and show us a wee bit of wizardry, a wee bit of that magic, JP, that we know he is capable of. I mean, do you subscribe to Kevin's analysis of that first half? Loads of possession, but no real cutting edge?
Well, they made a point of saying that our first corner was in the 40th minute of the game, which that's a little bit concerning, especially as we had so much possession. And we're not really getting beyond them in terms of like the fullbacks. Like has Kenny put in a ball yet? I don't really know. I'm not having a go at the guy because he's just in the door and he's still adapting. But I don't think he's really got down that wing yet and put any sort of balls in. It's all been sort of a little bit disjointed going forward, I think. The one positive, not one positive, the two positives are that Welsh and Nair look like a centre-half pairing. They don't look afraid to give it to each other. They're not like, I better not give him it, I better not take it from him. And Welsh is starting to get more confident with his range of passing as well. I know that was mentioned to you. Somebody said that he's got a lot more in his locker. And I just see him getting a bit more comfortable and a bit more, not gallus, because he's not getting gallus. I mean, I don't think we're in a position to be gallus at the moment. But just like, I don't know, I just like the look of them at the back. And I know we've not been, well, we have been pressed a little bit. Obika's been up there and made himself a nuisance as he normally does. But I've liked watching. I've been specifically watching them just to see how they're playing together.
Aero 250 comes back in. There's wee Jamesy Forrest, remember him? Ayer loves a stroll, he certainly does. But yes, it was. I was speaking to someone, JP, who watched Welsh a hell of a lot at junior level or pro youth level, and he did say that his range of passing was really impressive. And you've seen that coming into his game tonight, haven't you? I'm not saying the passes were all great, but he has tried some long range passing. Russell, again, maybe I was looking too much into it. I've already been called a paranoid android today, but there wasn't much celebration when the bold Tommy Rogic scored that goal. JP reckons his theory is it could well be he's not going to celebrate because the fans aren't there. What's your thoughts on it?
I'm not sure. I think that does play a part. I think there's obviously a nonchalance about Tom Rogic that's undeniable, that he just doesn't seem that bothered by anything, whether good or bad. I wonder if though maybe the muted celebration is a bit when a player's not played as much of a part as what they maybe think they should be in the campaign. The campaign's not went ideally, and then he's the one when he scores. It's like a new version of waving the finger at your manager and proving a point wrong to him. Maybe I don't know if the muted celebration is maybe someone going, well, this has been an option all season. He's not picked me. I told you what I'm capable of. The goal reminded me eerily of the Fir Park game. Remember the 4-3, man? Yeah. I think it was 4-3, wasn't it? It reminded me so much of that. It was weird. It was like going back in time watching him do it. I actually think his performance on the whole, as much as the celebration was muted, I actually think his performances looked right involved in it. I don't mind when he's put the odd pass astray, because it's always been trying to create. And he actually, did I see him doing some backtracking at one point? I think I seen him running at one point. It's been quite a display of, I think, a lot of enthusiasm from Tom Rogic, which maybe isn't always the word you would associate with him.
No, I mean, what I've noticed, we were speaking about him coming in and Turnbull possibly being shifted around the park. They've done a job on Turnbull, haven't they? Because he's been man-marked, and that's like a dying art, isn't it? That's like a throwback. He's been man-marked by Boyle Hayes quite effectively, I think, because I don't think Turnbull's been in the game as much as we have become accustomed to. Kevin Graham, how do you deal with that?
Again, I think when we're playing the ball from the back, we seem to be missing out Turnbull a bit, and it seems to be going straight to Eddie or Albie. And so, they're then trying to bring the midfield into the game. So it looks like they've been told to go direct. I'm loving Bagayar going forward, but the problem is he's that right-footed. When he breaks in on that left-hand side, he's got nowhere to go. With Big Tam's celebration, I just thought he was knackered because he had sprinted 5 yards. And he was maybe having a wee bit of a breather, and he couldn't celebrate. We need to get Turnbull into the game, and I think that's what we're trying to do, be playing the longer ball to the front two to bring him in further up the pitch. It hasn't quite worked. He's been quite man-marked. The game's quite scrappy, truthfully, and it could just be one of these games for him where he doesn't get in. Tam's doing all right on the right-hand side, so we have had a bit of creativity out there, but not much, really not much. There's still massive room for improvement.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that we have more or less controlled most of the play. There was that moment near the end of the half where Kenny's had to come in and make a decisive kind of challenge, or certainly get his body in the way, and I thought at that moment in time this was the worst possible time to lose a goal. Richard Murray comes in to say via YouTube, standard boring fare like we've seen all season, but at least we've seen classic Rogic and we are in the lead. I will take that. I think we will take it again when you start looking at the league table and you look at just the points we lost over the January period right up to the St Mirren game at Celtic Park. It's so frustrating, isn't it, when you consider that could have and should have, because of the standards we've set ourselves, that should have been another 9 points on the board. That shows you how this season really has gone, JP. And when you're looking at John Collins's jacket on the live performance tonight, I'm amazed that he doesn't get more stick than me for my Matalan effort. That's a shocker, eh?
Timberland number. I've not seen a Timberland jacket for a while. Next thing you'll be wearing like Naf and stuff like that.
Naf Co 54, remember them as well. Richard Murray, yeah, thanks for your point there. And Sean Keogh echoes your views, Kevin. Rogic does look good coming off the right. My only concern with Tommy Rogic is always at that 66 to 65 minute mark. I know it's becoming a bit of a cliche where he does run out of legs, and you would kind of hope at that stage that we're going to be looking to utilise the bench. We know that Neil Lennon doesn't like to do that at half time. When you're looking at that, Kevin, you're saying that Turnbull's maybe not going to get into the game. Would it be wise maybe to make that change, to bring on someone like Ryan Christie if he can't get into the game in the first 15 minutes?
Before Tam scored, I was actually thinking that Christie would be the perfect foil to try and bring on a bit of legs into that midfield, but he's looking fine now. So if you are going to make a change, Ryan Christie is the natural option. 11 days ago when we played St Mirren, I thought St Mirren tired as well. about the 65, 70 minute mark. And that's when we usually tire, because we had quite a bit of the ball at Celtic Park. Though it could have been tactical because they were 2-1 up at the time, but it looked like they had expanded an awful lot of energy in the game at Celtic Park. So the subs could swing this. The subs could change this game. If Lennon gets the subs right, we could actually go on and have a comfortable victory. If he gets them wrong, we could be hanging on.
Now, Mark comes in with a theory to say Rogic didn't celebrate because we always bottle it. I don't know. It's an instinctive thing. I mean, you've scored a hat trick at Celtic Park, JP, and even without the fans there, you're going to celebrate, aren't you?
Well, there was about 500 people there, if you're lucky, when I scored the hat trick. But I've got the whole game on DVD, so I could prove to you how daft that went when I scored. But I don't know. It's not something I'm going to get overly caught up about, because I don't know. I don't think Rogic is going to be about beyond the summer. So it's not as if I've got to really, really worry about how Rogic is feeling about being at Celtic long term, because I think if the offer's right, he'll be away. You know, I certainly don't think he wants to be at Celtic anymore. I mean, and in that celebration is only solidified my thinking, really.
We've got a comment coming in from Facebook. Can we expect a citation for McGregor's tackle? I hope we don't get into that situation, Russell, where virtually every tackle is going to be poured over. I mean, I know it was kind of over the ball. I don't think there was much malice in that, do you?
There was no malice in it. There was no malice. The replay didn't look too clever. I actually thought instantly when he did it, watch that, and the referee was right over it though, which I think is always quite good to go by the referee's instincts in that instance. He's got a complete fair view of it. He's right in the thick of the battle at that point. It was a ball that was a 50-50 really. He was entitled to go for it. I think you're spot on though. It could get very, very silly in the upcoming months. Was that once the furore becomes all about citations and things, that everything just gets scrutinised and overanalyzed too much. The referee's made a judgment call there. He was right on top of it. It was a foul, nothing more. Move on. I hope that's the attitude that they take.
He kind of turned his back on it. If you see it when it slowed down, he was not really looking at what was happening. He had his back and he was facing from the player as he's made contact. So
that's not a good thing though.
No, I know. Brown was quite lucky with his one as well. I think that Andy Walker said the referee has been a bit lenient tonight, and I'd agree with that.
Yeah, it's Francie Dalbellew. Welcome back to the show. You're on YouTube. Anyone else who's on there who hasn't subscribed, do so. Just click the subscribe key. Exactly. Well done. And Francie comes on to say celebrating a goal, 21 points behind. Probably feels a little empty, I guess. Yeah, you're probably right. And David, via Twitter, I would like to see Mikey Johnson come and stretch them in the channels. I think, again, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me, but it's a wee bit bold for Lenny to be making a change at half-time. Mikey Johnson, Kevin, he hasn't set the header alight since he's come back, but I guess he needs more game time. What do you reckon?
You're right there. The problem that I've got is the pitch is getting rock hard, so it's going to start bobbling about, and it's maybe not conducive for Mikey Johnson to come on and do a bit of magic. I think they're going to need to dig this out the colder it gets, and somebody like Christie, who's a bit more physical, is probably a better option than Mikey Johnson to come off to play down the channels.
Good point. Now we've got a second half to look forward to. The teams are back on the park. We will be back at full time, hopefully, to talk about a Celtic victory. All that's left for me to say is GP Mason, Russell Boyce and Kevin Graham, thanks for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.